here. Elsewhere, well, it is going to be chilly for sure. Some frost, some ice to watch out for as well. We start the day across the southeastern third of England on a pretty wet note. Some hill snow as well to watch out for. A few showers pushing into coastal parts of Wales and southwest England. Wintry showers and icy patches to watch out for over parts of Northern Ireland and northeast England and across the northern half of Scotland. Well, here we have plenty of showers feeding in on that brisk northerly wind, which is bringing Arctic air down. And so no wonder we're going to see these showers readily falling as sleet or snow. Could see up to 20 centimetres developing perhaps over some modest higher ground. Even elsewhere where we see those showers coming down both down the eastern side of England and some western parts, southwest Wales, southwest England, we could see some lying snow as well. It is going to be a cold day. Temperatures for many a little bit lower than today and feeling pretty raw indeed, despite the fact that there will be some sunshine around. Thursday's actually looking pretty similar to how we end Wednesday, really, sticking with that northerly wind, so showers in the east, the north and perhaps towards the west, and these could be falling as rain, sleet or snow over any modest higher ground. Into Friday, and after a very cold, frosty start for many, some rain's going to arrive later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A serious collision on the A95 in Charlestown of Aberlour is causing major delays in both directions. In Cambridgeshire, all lanes on the A14 westbound between junctions 36 and 31 are closed. Northamptonshire's A14 westbound faces delays from a collision with one lane closed. In Staffordshire, congestion persists on the A38 northbound. M25 anti-clockwise entry at junction 1A is delayed by a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, Hull trains at Selby face disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even a tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, very, very good evening to you and welcome to Farage with me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney, live from Paddington, coming up on tonight's show. As 20 Labour MPs criticise the government's migrant crackdown, I'll be joined by a human rights lawyer who will reveal all of the pitfalls and the holes in this new plan. And meanwhile, as we speak, members of Parliament are debating the controversial Troubles Bill that has enraged veterans over fears that it could lead to untold numbers of historic prosecutions. And a whopping 2/3 of Labour voters do not support Sir Keir Starmer leading the party into the next general election. So the question is, who will support the guy? And finally, the former England captain, the legend, that is Terry Butcher, who joins me in the studio as he backs a new book on awareness of veterans' mental health after having lost his son to a PTSD-linked heart condition. That's all coming up on tonight's show. We're also hoping to have Nigel Farage down the line, but first, here's news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much and good evening. The top stories. The Home Secretary is standing firm after unveiling one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood says she will get her reforms through Parliament despite anger from Labour's left and unexpected backing from the Conservatives. Her plan brings in 20-year waits for permanent residency, tougher and faster removals, new visa bans and an end to guaranteed financial support. But critics warn the package is dystopian and inhumane. Nigel Farage says the government is copying Reform UK, saying Labour is panicking about losing voters.
Frankly, I don't actually think that most of what she said will make any difference at all. And as for the gimmick, we're going to take away people's watches and earrings. And I mean, this is just never going to happen. And rhetorically, fine, following very many of the things that we've been saying for some years. But in practice, I doubt much of it will actually happen.
Net migration to the UK last year was 20% lower than previously thought, according to revised figures from the ONS. The number, the difference between those entering and leaving the country, has been revised down by 86,000 people, now stands at 345,000 in 2024. The driving factor behind the change is that more British nationals are thought to have emigrated in 2024 than initially recorded, with 100,000 fewer now thought to be living in the UK. Migration peaked higher than previously thought, according to the figures, adding 944,000 to the UK population between April of 2022 and March of 2023. A spokesperson for the Chinese embassy says accusations that China is trying to interfere with the UK's sovereign affairs are pure fabrication and malicious slander. It comes as a message that circulated to all parliamentary staff, says the Chinese Ministry of State Security is using LinkedIn, recruitment firms and professional headhunters to make contact, gather information and build long-term relationships. 2 individuals posing as recruiters have been singled out as operating at scale on behalf of Beijing, with MI5 warning other fake profiles are also being used as espionage fronts. Security Minister Dan Jarvis says the government will not tolerate covert and calculated attempts to interfere with the UK's sovereign affairs. Mr Jarvis announced a package of measures in the House of Commons to tackle espionage threats to the UK. And Donald Trump has urged Republicans in Congress to vote to release more files relating to Jeffrey Epstein. It's after the US president had been facing a potential revolt after a growing number of Republicans signalled they would vote in favour of releasing the files despite his previous opposition. While the measure is likely to pass in the House of Representatives today, it's far from certain it would pass in the Republican-controlled Senate. Today, the House of Representatives is expected to vote on a measure that would compel the Justice Department to make publicly available in a searchable and downloadable format all files pertaining to Epstein within 30 days. Earlier today, survivors of Epstein spoke at a news conference at the US Capitol. Annie Farmer says they've suffered institutional betrayal for years. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, it's over to Martin.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Tatiana, and welcome to Farage. With me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, the Labour Party has unveiled what it has purported to be the toughest reforms to the asylum system in a generation.
We must act too. We will do so by making refugee status temporary, not permanent. A grant of refugee status will last 2.5 years, not 5. It will be renewed only if it is impossible for a refugee to return home. Permanent settlement will now come at 20 years, not 5. To encourage refugees into work, we will also consult on removing benefits for those who are able to work but choose not to.
But there's a problem. 23 and counting Labour MPs thus far have criticised proposals, prompting concerns of a backbench rebellion. But while the Home Secretary has talked the talk, speaking to GBNews' political editor Christopher Hope last night, she refused to say whether small boat numbers would actually come down next year.
Look, I want to implement these reforms as quickly as possible. I want to reduce the pull factors that are persuading people to get into
we know all that.
boats.
How do we judge your success? Numbers?
Judge me on delivery. Judge me on delivery. I want to get those boat crossings down.
But cutting through the rhetoric, here's the real question as whether the plan will work, either practically, legislatively and even politically. Well, here was Nigel Farage's reaction to the announcement earlier on with our political editor Chris Hope.
All she does is validate our position, I mean, particularly with the rhetoric that she was using. Look, I wish her well, but I just don't see...
Do you really, though? Will you support her? The Tories will support her measures. Will you vote for those measures they announced yesterday?
Well, I'll vote for measures if I think they're actually going to work.
So will you vote for her measures?
No. I'll vote for them if I think they're going to work. Let's see how it all gets amended, and let's bear in mind that all the while we have the Human Rights Act, all the while we're signed up to the ECHR, all the while we have the judges and the judiciary in our post-Blair world that we've got. Would I vote for something that I don't think can work? Unlikely.
Do you want her to succeed in dealing with the small boats crisis?
I'd love a British government to control our borders, make us wealthy, and I wouldn't need to bother them, would I?
Well, will the plan work? Let's ask a man who knows the answer to that. I'm joined now by the immigration lawyer, Ivan Sampson. Ivan, it's always a pleasure to have your company. Suella Braverman said the idea is all hot air. Nigel Farage clearly thinks it won't work. May I ask you, as an immigration lawyer, is it simply fanciful to believe that the Council of Europe will just allow Britain to just willy-nilly amend Article 8 and Article 3 and deport at will?
No, I don't. And I think it's going to cause more chaos. The Home Secretary's not actually being completely truthful, because she says that the new system, this whole new system, radical system, is changing permanent refugee status to a temporary one when it's already temporary. The current system gives 5 years' worth of leave. And at any time during that time, the government can remove a person if the situation in their country changes. So that hasn't really made any difference at all. And I don't think extending the settlement period from 5 to 20 years is going to make any difference. I mean, if you're on the North Shores of France, living in the most horrid situation, and you think, well, you know what, it's from 5 to 20 years, I'm not going to go. I don't think that's going to happen, do you? I think people are still going to come. And what she's doing is changing the treatment of people when they get here. What she doesn't address is the structural conditions which generate the crossings in the first place. That is the problem. And if you look at over the last 10 years, successive Home Secretaries from Theresa May started the hostile environment. We then had Priti Patel ramping it up, Suella Braverman ramping up further. And what you've seen consistently, the numbers have been going up despite making it hostile. So I don't think is going to, I think Nigel's absolutely right. There's two problems. There's legal challenges and there's also ineffective removal. So add those together. While we're members of the European Convention on Human Rights, it makes it very difficult for anyone to be returned. Can I just give you an example? One of my clients, genuine refugee, called me today and she said, I don't know what to do. My husband and I have bought our home. We've got really good jobs. He started a business, he's employing people. What's going to happen to us? So here's the situation. Refugees actually, and now what you're doing is extending the settlement period to 20 years, making it much more difficult for them to integrate and be welcome into which is what the government wants. So you can't have it both ways, I'm afraid.
It sounds like the idea is full of fight, but actually it's fanciful. Thank you, Ivan Sampson. It's short but sharp, but thank you for your company. Always an absolute pleasure. Well, let's get to my panel now. I'm joined by the former Conservative MP and Minister Sir Ranald J. Ward, and of course, the journalist and the former press secretary to Paddy Ashdown, Joe Phillips. Welcome to you both. Joe, I'm going to start with you. We can all agree Shabana Mahmood came across very impressively. Absolutely. Tough talking, full of vim. But when reality bites, the same problems shall await her as awaited the Conservatives over Rwanda. The ECHR will poke its beak in and the whole thing will fall apart.
Well, let's see. I mean, the thing is that she's actually come out fighting. She's been really tough. Her biggest fight, Martin, is going to be with the Labour Party and the backbenchers on the Labour Party. And frankly, if they force a U-turn on this, as they did on the welfare reforms earlier this year, then they will only have themselves to blame if a little bit further down the track there is a government of a different hue that tries to do the same things but without any consideration. So I think what she set out is a good idea. Of course it's going to be problematic. Every bit of legislation, and I'm sure Ranald will agree, is not an easy ride. You've got to get it through the Commons, you've got to get it through the Lords, there will be amendments, there will be pressure groups and all of that. But all the time you've got Nigel saying, well, I probably won't vote for it because it won't work. And you've got Ivan saying, well, it won't work and da-da-da.
Well, perhaps it won't.
But what is their alternative? Because I heard Chris Philp yesterday, the Shadow Home Secretary, saying, well, if we were in government, which of course they were for 14 years, but he seems to have forgotten that, we'd round up all the illegal immigrants and we'd send them back within a week. I mean, that is cloud cuckoo land. Shabana Mahmood is a serious politician. She's taken on one of the very biggest issues that affects this country and is of huge concern, not just to GB News viewers, but also to people around the country for a variety of reasons. And I think what she's doing, I think it's interesting that Ivan talked about it's not about how people get here, it's what happens when they do get here. I think her changes are significant, or her proposed changes, not least of all the only one appeal.
So, Ranald, let's bring you in. Do you feel a sense of déjà vu here? Great ideas, great plans, tough talking. We saw that with Rwanda. However, the Council of Europe will surely do their bit once again to trump British sovereign law. The only way out of this mess is to leave the ECHR.
Well, that is the Conservative Party's position, because having looked at that very closely, it's very clear that that is an impediment to us controlling our own borders. But I think there's a wider point here, which is that whether Rwanda or these proposals, ultimately the British government, through Parliament, decides the law of this country. And it's up to us whether we agree to be subject to decisions from the European Court in Strasbourg. We can simply disregard it. The French do, the Germans do, many countries do.
The Conservatives didn't.
Well, unfortunately so. And look what happened to us. And so I think, credit to the Home Secretary here. She seems to get what many on the benches behind her refuse to accept, that this is a totemic issue for this government. It's going to decide the fate of this government and the Labour Party for a generation if they get it wrong. And indeed, by taking tough action now, they can actually deliver for the British people, which is actually what, regardless of our parties, we all want. But there is a really big problem here. And the big problem is actually reform, which is, it's all very well saying we're against everything until something that is iteratively better than what we currently have is brought to the table. Now, if they don't accept something that's iteratively better, if it's 50% of what they want rather than 100%, surely that's still worth voting for. So if they're not going to vote for that in the House of Commons, that's actually a signal to the country that Reform aren't serious about tackling these issues and would rather complain from the sidelines.
Joe Phillips, perhaps actually it's a recognition that the plan is flawed, and 23 righteous rebels from the Labour Party are calling it racist, divisive, trying to out-reform reform. Here's the incredible thing. 2/3 of these rebels are going to lose their seats. If you look at any of the polling, 11 of them, almost half of them, to reform. Their own voters want to go further than Shabana Mahmood. That's the point. This plan doesn't go far enough.
Well, I think Ranald's absolutely right. It doesn't go as far as some would like it. I think there are problems, and I think there are very genuine and proper concerns about people who have been settled here with families for 15 years who haven't got the right to stay under the new proposed 20-year rule. So there are all of those issues, but those things you can work through. That's what Parliament's for. That's what sensible grown-up debate is about. But I think Ranald's point is absolutely right. We've seen Kemi Badenoch, of course she's playing politics, but she has said, you know, we will support this. Now, either you support something that is better than what we've had before, or you just want to snipe from the sidelines. And I think Ranulph's absolutely right. If Reform aren't careful, that's what they'll look like, because they haven't got a better plan.
Well, perhaps they have a better plan. That is to leave the ECHR and begin mass deportations. By the way, that's a position that's 2/3 of the British public support.
But this is my point. So you can believe that. You can believe that, and you can implement that. And I'm not disputing that if Parliament wants to do that, that's fine. But surely,
when will they grow a pair and get on with it?
But Labour aren't doing that. And so surely it's better to vote for something than nothing. That's the decision here.
Exactly.
You know, Labour have a majority. I might not like it, Reform might not like it, dare I say the Liberal Democrats might not like it, but they have a majority right now. And so the opportunity is to tighten it up or do nothing.
OK, we have to move on. Thank you very much, Serrano and Joe. Thanks to my panel. Coming up in just a moment's time, MPs are currently debating the controversial Troubles Bill that veterans have claimed could lead to the opening of the floodgates of historic prosecutions. Nigel Farage joins us next.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain. So he can say whatever he wants. A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Farage with me, your host tonight, Martin Daubney. Now, this evening, members of Parliament are debating the government's controversial Troubles Bill at the second reading. Now, it was last week when just 9 former four-star generals, in an unprecedented move, warned of a mass exodus from elite armed force units like the SAS, owing to the rise of what they describe as lawfare. Well, the generals called for the disapplication of the Human Rights Act from troops' actions during active service, both domestically and overseas. But Labour's Troubles bill adds insult to injury, as it could open the floodgates to even more to prosecuting veterans. Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, from the House of Commons. Mr Farage, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Tell me, are we any step nearer tonight to getting that much-needed amnesty for British veterans?
No, it's extraordinary. I mean, the 23 Legacy Act from the Conservative Party, the one flaw, as I see it, is the Human Rights Act. But at least there was an attempt to draw a line under things that happened 30, 40, 50 years ago. Quite why the Labour Party want to stir up this hornet's nest is beyond me. Do you know, I met someone today who'd served in the British Army for over 40 years, who is now being hounded, who has been at 7 o'clock in the morning taken out of his house by the police. What on earth are we doing? And the rumours are there are 4 more big cases to come, and they might even go back to Malaya in 1954. This is the hounding of men who've given their lives and served in the British Army. And you know something? Forget Northern Ireland today. Think about Northern Ireland 30, 40, 50 years ago. This was a bloody, awful, horrible place. Thousands killed, tens of thousands wounded. It was a horrible place. And the job of the British Army, was to stop the terrorists. And some of these cases are so clear-cut, it's almost unbelievable. Quite why Labour want to alienate the entirety of the veterans community in Britain is beyond me.
Well, Nigel Farage, many in the veterans community not only think they are being persecuted, but it's having a huge impact on present and future recruitment. I had a SAS general on my show last Friday who said this is terrible. Nobody wants to stand up for the ultimate regiment, the elite regiment on the planet, for fear of being prosecuted for a split-second decision simply following orders.
Well, think about this. With the relationship with the Americans, and by the way, without the Americans, we are defenceless. Our special forces are just about now the only part of our military that the Americans genuinely, 100% respect. That is now called into question, into doubt. I am told, and I spoke to somebody currently serving in the SBS last week, that morale within the regiments is absolutely appalling. And as for recruitment, why on earth would you do the job? It's a disaster. And think about a combat situation. You know, we send our guys in to a dangerous situation, and if in the back of their mind is, can I act as I believe to be correct, to protect myself and my colleagues and do what's right, or do I hesitate for a moment? Well, think about that in a combat situation. It is a complete and utter disaster. And if you talk to anybody in the SAS or SBS, they will tell you that any of their colleagues that behave badly in combat or elsewhere will be out literally immediately. These are men of the absolute highest integrity. They deserve our respect, they deserve our support, and this Labour government seeks to hound them. It is absolutely disgraceful. I've just been in the Commons watching hundreds of Labour MPs going through voting for this. It is literally beyond me why they would do so.
Nigel Farage, could I ask you about this word patriotism? We see Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour Party, wrapping themselves in the Union flag. A lot of people think that's a little bit suspect, a bit opportunistic. Do you think when reality bites, the true patriotic notion is to support our armed forces? And this isn't just about this Troubles bill tonight. It's about the fact that actually the Labour Party, they're not truly patriotic.
Well, of course, this is so classic of this government. They invert the truth on everything. He's the plastic patriot, not me. The St George's flag and Keir Starmer, you'd never have seen that even 2 years ago. They believe in a higher global order. The human rights agenda, the international courts, we see it, whether it's through Chagos or so much else. These people aren't patriots. These people don't believe in an independent, proud United Kingdom standing up. He's even reversing Brexit week by week with everything he does. This guy, let me tell you, Starmer, when he comes out with this stuff, is a complete and utter fraud. And my feeling is the country's getting that.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much for joining us from the House of Commons. Pleasure to have your company. Thank you very, very much. Now let's take this conversation on with my panel. Of course, that's the former Conservative MP and the Minister, Sir Ranil Jayawardena, and also the journalist and former Press Secretary, Paddy Ashdown, Joe Phillips. Sir Ranil, I should come to you nodding along there. This wrapping themselves in the Union flag, this calling Nigel Farage a plastic patriot, has become something of a competitive nature. But true patriotism, surely, is about supporting our armed forces through thick and thin.
Absolutely. I mean, so on the last issue, I was calling reform out, but Nigel's absolutely right on this. The truth is that there is a law already in place to protect our veterans, to make sure that there can't be these sort of private civil prosecutions against our veterans, that there can't be sort of additional legal action taken against them now, many, many years after the event. And senior military officers wrote an open letter that this will be a direct threat to national security. So it's bad for the veterans and it's bad for every single person in this country. Why the government is doing this, why Labour have decided that a settled piece of law that we put in, the Conservatives brought in, after much campaigning from many MPs, including me on behalf of some of my constituents, why they've chosen to use parliamentary time to make something worse for our veterans, I cannot understand.
Joe Phillips, does this tell us more about this Labour government than perhaps this one standalone issue tells us? We see time and time again a government putting the rights of IRA terrorists before our own forces, putting the human rights of illegal immigrants before British citizens. Isn't that the point? They're lawyers.
Martin, I'm not here to defend the government. I'm not a member of the Labour Party, and there is nobody here to defend the government's issue on this. And I think, claims about who's a patriot and who isn't are extremely damaging and extremely unhelpful. There are people who go around wrapping themselves in union flags and turn up to hound and harass people going about their daily business, including...
Where?
All around the country, including one man who turned up at the very well-covered on GB News protests outside the Epping Hotel, who was a convicted paedophile, but he's wrapped in a union flag, so it doesn't
What
matter.
about the mothers, the daughters, the friends who are standing up for women who've been raped and molested by illegal immigrants?
But there isn't a prize for who's the best patriot. It's how you behave in your daily life. It's a little bit like saying, what makes a good Christian? What makes a good Muslim? What makes a good neighbour?
But surely Labour have failed on that, because they aren't defending our British values, they aren't defending our British forces and indeed our British veterans, and they're bringing, a risk of inquests and civil action against troublemaker terrorists.
I do question why they have decided to tinker with this.
OK, just Ranil, I need to interject. Just some breaking news now to announce the Troubles Bill has passed in the Commons on that second reading. I'm delighted now to be joined by the Conservative MP and the former Brexit Secretary, Sir David Davis. Sir David, thank you for joining us tonight on Farage on GB News. That bill has passed, no doubt. You're devastated by that news.
Well, I'm wholly unsurprised. I mean, it's because Labour's got an enormous majority. But this is going to be a guerrilla war, I'm afraid. The public, I think, understand that what this bill does is open up trials or coroner's inquests in which soldiers who've done nothing but serve their country patriotically, often heroically, are going to be pulled back into court and faced with potential charges of murder or manslaughter. It's madness, frankly.
So, David, do we have a Labour government that seemingly wraps itself in the Union flag? They like to be patriotic when it suits them. But isn't the ultimate test of a patriot to support our veterans in very, very difficult times, making split-second decisions? This is wholly unjust.
Yeah, look, the test of any politician is not what they say, it's what they do. And if you listen to Mr. Benn, Hilary Benn today, he was going on about how much he cared about our veterans, but it's him that's actually ensuring that the Loch Gaul battle, this was a fight between the SAS and the IRA, which the IRA squarely lost. They tried to blow up a police station using a sort of digger, JCB type thing with a big bomb in it, and then when they'd done that, they got out and were going to shoot the policemen as they came out. What surprised them was it was the SAS that came out of the blown up police station. That was an act of heroism. bluntly. It was the only thing the SAS could do. They couldn't take them prisoner. They had guns in their hands and they were shooting at them. So they had to do what they did. And what was the outcome of that? It's the East Tyrone Brigade, who previously had killed about 250 people. Think of that number, 250 people before this happened, and that stopped after that. It didn't happen anymore. So actually our soldiers were saving lives of innocent people, dealing with terrorist gangsters, frankly, in incredibly dangerous situations. And what's going to happen now is the IRA are going to try and change history. They're going to try and represent themselves as freedom fighters and somehow represent British soldiers as villains. 70 and 80-year-old British soldiers who've done nothing but their patriotic duty. So it's really, really clear this is an incredibly bad bill. It's a hypocritical bill, and frankly it's a craven bill, because what's going on here, I was listening to Nigel speaking earlier, that I think the reason they're doing this is because because the Irish government is insisting on it and they're giving in to them. Well, that's a ridiculous thing to do, particularly to our own troops. So all of that's important. There's one last thing that's important in this too. Last week 9 generals, or 8 generals and an air marshal, pitched in with a letter to the Times saying that this bill was wrong. The reason they did that was it's already doing damage. I mean, Nigel talked about the SAS and SBS. It's already doing damage. People are looking to leave, whether it's ordinary soldiers or warrant officers or officers. They're not looking to join, and they're certainly worried. Their morale is poor because they're worried about going abroad, and the next enemy they have, who they beat on the battlefield, looks at Ireland and says, right, we're going to come back in 10 years' time and defeat you in the law courts. That's not a way to defend the country. That's not a way to stand up for Britain. You don't have to argue about patriotism. It's just straightforward national interest. That's why this is dangerous. That's why people like me, people like Nigel, are opposing it, and will oppose it all the way through the Commons and all the way through the Lords. And if we can defeat it, we will defeat it.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Sir David Davis from the Commons as that Troubles Bill passes. Pleasure. Second reading in the Commons. Thank you, Sir David. Joe Phillips, a quick retort from you on this. Nobody is saying that people should be forgiven for war crimes in the past, but is this just simply going too far?
Well, it does seem bizarre. There is a law, as Ranald pointed out earlier, that was there in place. I don't know why the government have been so hell-bent on doing this, really, unless, as David Davis says, that it is at the behest of the Irish government. It does seem, it is not the most important thing on most people's minds. I mean, it might be right now because we're talking about it, obviously, but, it's not up there with the cost of living, is it? Nobody should be above the law, and everybody, there's no age limit on when you should be prosecuted. But I think this is probably a step too far. But as David says, it's got to go through the Lords yet. I think they'll battle it.
OK, Joe Phillips and Sir Randall, thank you very much to my panel. Coming up in just a moment's time, Sir Keir Starmer's career is on the ropes as a whopping 2/3 of Labour voters don't support him to continue leading the party into the next general election. Is it time up for Sir Keir? That's next.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's going to be an unsettled week across eastern parts of the Mediterranean with intense thundery rain by the weekend. Further west, it's drier, but there will be some rain around northern coastal parts of Spain, also pushing into parts of Portugal and West Spain as well. Also some rain across southern Italy, but it's further east affecting Greece, Albania, Croatia and other nearby nations. This is where we're going to have the heaviest, most thundery rain, particularly as we go Friday and into Saturday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Now the cold theme will continue as we go through the next 24 hours, meaning there's going to be some frost, some ice, even some sleet and snow around, but snow is always quite tricky to forecast that specifically. That being said, we do have an area of low pressure making its way southeastwards at the moment, and it's this, around it we have some outbreaks of rain, a bit of sleet and some hill snow pushing southwards across parts of England and also Wales overnight. Across Northern Ireland, fairly frequent showers pushing through, and these could be a wintry mix. Also across northern parts of Scotland, plenty of showers here. Central southern Scotland actually having some clear skies, so temperatures plummeting. A very cold night here. Elsewhere, well, it is going to be chilly for sure. Some frost, some ice to watch out for as well. We start the day across the southeastern third of England on a pretty wet note. Some hill snow as well to watch out for. A few showers pushing into coastal parts of Wales and southwest England. Wintry showers and icy patches to watch out for over parts of Northern Ireland and northeast England and across the northern half of Scotland. Well, here we have plenty of showers feeding in on that brisk northerly wind which is bringing Arctic air down, and so no wonder we're going to see these showers readily falling as sleet or snow. Could see up to 20 centimetres developing perhaps over some modest higher ground. Even elsewhere where we see those showers coming down both down the eastern side of England and some western parts, southwest Wales, southwest England, we could see some lying snow as well. It is going to be a cold day, temperatures for many a little bit lower than today and feeling pretty raw indeed, despite the fact that there will be some sunshine around. Thursday's actually looking pretty similar to how we end Wednesday really, sticking with that northerly wind, so showers in the east, the north and perhaps towards the west, and these could be falling as rain, sleet or snow over any modest higher ground. Into Friday, and after a very cold frosty start for many, some rain's going to arrive later.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Farage with me, your host tonight, Martin Daubry. Now, an astonishing story broke this afternoon from the news website Guido Fawkes. The government's Afghan resettlement scheme allowed, wait for it, at least 28 known violent criminals into the country, with potentially many, many more problematic individuals also in tow. Now, a Freedom of Information request submitted by Guido Fawkes revealed that more than 100 Afghans relocated to the UK under the Afghan Relocations and Assistance Policy. They were flagged as cases of interest in which a refugee has been flagged as a very serious case. Now, this includes being involved in terror offences and referrals to the Prevent programme. It's an eye-popping story. I'm joined now by the man who broke this exclusive, and that's the editorial director of Guido Fawkes, formerly, of course, of this parish GB News, Adam Cherry, as well, of course, as my panel, as, of course, Serrano, Jay Wardena and Joe Phillips. Adam Cherry, astonishing. So many people say we have no idea who is amongst us, but 28 known criminals from Afghanistan?
Yeah, well, I'm afraid it could be more than that, actually, Martin. You say we don't know who's in this country. The Home Office told us in no uncertain terms. You know what, let me just read the quote. So, as you said, this was broken via Freedom of Information request from my colleague, Max Young. And the Home Office, in response to these figures, said, introduced a caveat. There could be additional cases which were cases of interest via their internal guidance, but they have not always been recorded with an ARAP reference, ARAP being the Afghan resettlement scheme, for various reasons. Now, I don't go specifically into what those reasons might be, but I would suggest that it's probably because these references have to come from local authorities. So it's on the local authorities to bring these to the attention of the Home Office, and then they go through their guidance. So as you said, 28 were known as violent criminals, been arrested for a violent offence, including sexual crimes, having weapons, all manner of stuff. And then one even referred to the anti-terrorism prevent scheme. Now, what happened to these guys? Where are they? How do they stay here? It's just absolutely extraordinary, and it could be even more than that.
It's astonishing to believe that as part of a relocation scheme, a lot of people believed at the time we had no quality control, we had no idea of people's loyalties, their criminality, and it's irrefutably true. We've imported violence, sex offences, potential terrorists. This is a terrible look for the Home Office.
Absolutely. And then we were just We were absolutely flabbergasted when we got that quote in today from them saying, here's a caveat, this figure may actually be much larger because we don't have the sufficient data. We're relying on others to supply it to us. And then on our website as well, for our membership, we've published the full internal guidance, which is another whopper, because you look at that and you see how convoluted and it's a bureaucratic quagmire to even assess this stuff. So, who knows? Even when you take that into account, the number of people here who have serious checkered past could be even greater still. It's absolutely extraordinary.
So, Adam, were they arrested once they were here, or are you saying they were known criminals before they came here?
Well, that's the thing. We think so, right?
Which?
We think... Well, let me be more... Sorry, that was not clear enough. Let's try that again, right? It's not entirely clear based on the evidence provided.
Right, OK.
And so what I meant to say was, we think that it's unclear to the Home Office themselves, right, where this has come from. Again, it's all... The data is so muddy that they're unwilling to explain it in full beyond the basis of what we've been given here.
But it's bad enough to import people with potentially known criminal records, known offenders on foreign soil. Yeah. But to not even tell us the difference, they may have come here and committed crimes on British soil.
I mean, obviously,
it's worse.
Is on referral to prevent that could have only happened in this country.
Of course, right? That's within.
And the others
that's domestic.
May or may not have been known criminals. Now, this resettlement scheme, of course, is slightly different to other immigration routes, and it has been closed down
in July of this year.
In July this year,
yes.
And also, we only discovered earlier this year that there was a secret Afghan resettlement programme.
Precisely, yeah.
That was running because of the data leak from the Ministry of Defence. So there's a whole load of murkiness around all of this.
Well, that's one word. And incompetence is another.
Well, you could say that, I suppose. But, I mean, the other thing is that, the real sadness and what's wrong about this is that the data leak has genuinely put people who supported our troops, who we were talking about a little while ago, while they were fighting in Afghanistan, it has put them and their families at huge risk through a cock-up through the MOD.
Yeah.
And now we've got this, and that, is casting aspersions potentially on every Afghan who is going to be resettled.
Well, I think, both things can be true, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not, but it's...
Serrano, it's incompetence after incompetence, error after error. The Home Office haven't got a Scooby-Doo who's here.
It's deeply concerning, yes. And, this is, I think, an example of where the headline that we must do something and we must help people, whilst very well-meaning, does have real-life consequences to people in this country. And so, whilst people might take a decision at one moment in time, actually, this is a perfect example that we should come back to in the future when there are undoubtedly calls that we should open the doors of this country to somewhere else because of particular troubles that we must be much more careful.
Can I put this to you? Shabana Mahmood has flexed her muscles about visa bans from places like the Democratic Republic of Congo, Namibia. How about Afghanistan? How about admitting there are simply too many potentially violent people in Afghanistan? How about just banning Afghans coming, period?
Because you can't run any sort of policy based on some ridiculous notion that all these people from this country are bad.
If there's heightened risk, and the data supports
the visa ban proposal that she's putting forward is to say, if you do not accept our deportations, we will put a ban on. And I think, there's a case to say that people can't use these excuses as, that they will be persecuted when they are actually just playing the system. So, yes, more countries should be on that list.
OK, we have to leave it there. Thank you, Adam Cherry, superb exclusive from Guido Fawkes, Joe Phillips, Serrano. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, coming up in just a moment's time, the legendary former England captain Terry Butcher. He joins me as he backs a new book on awareness of veterans' mental health after having tragically lost his son to a PTSD-linked heart condition. That's next on Farage.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is-
you're
the failure is-
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain. He can say whatever he wants. A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Farage. With me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, we all remember, of course, the legendary England football captain and the Rangers player, Terry Butcher, who'll be joining me in just a moment's time. But you may not know that Terry's son, Christopher, a captain in the British Army, he tragically died in 2017 from a PTSD-linked heart condition. And since then, Terry has campaigned tirelessly to raise awareness and to support those affected, working with the veterans support company Combat 2 Coffee, which seeks to help improve the mental health and the well-being of veterans. Well, a new book is being published. There it is on your screen. It's called This Week. It's published out, and it's called You Are Not Alone, and it's written by Rob Parker, which captures the stories of the many who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, hoping to raise awareness of the issue and to try and tackle it. I'm delighted now to be joined by the legend, the former England football captain, Terry Butcher, along with the founder of the veterans charity Combat 2 Coffee, Nigel Seaman. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Terry, it's a pleasure to have your esteemed company. And, of course, we're here under happy circumstances. You're raising awareness about something, though, that very, very deeply impacted you. Before we get to the initiative, tell us about your amazing lad, Chris.
Well, he went to Sandhurst and graduated, and then decided the Paras wanted him, so he decided to go Royal Artillery. And he loved being in the army. He loved the camaraderie, the spirit, everything else. And he had a great career ahead of him. Went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and came back, and everything was fine. We were so relieved as parents. And then the signs started to be there of PTSD. It was quite a while after he came back that they sort of manifested themselves, and yeah, everything went downhill after that. And it was a long fight for him to try and get help, but there was no help available. There was no one he could turn to, and in the end, my wife and I, we had to care for him, which was very, very difficult for all of us. And there, you know, he was with us for about 18 months, and then in the end, he passed away. He had an enlarged heart. He was struggling very much with PTSD, so he turned to alcohol. But as most veterans do when they have this problem, and in the end, he obviously passed away 8 years ago, and we had no help at the time, and we didn't have anybody giving us advice or where we could go. And I was with Nigel. I went to Combat to Coffee a few years ago with Nigel, and we got this. The author of the book, Rob Parker, presented this to us and sent it to me. And everything in here in this book was so true. And with us, it was like a manual for us, or a diary really, of what was happening and what could happen. And the best thing about the book and the best thing about his story is that they all came through together, but it was a long, long fight to do that. And many veterans are like that now. Many veterans are facing many of their own problems, and then the families become affected. And our family was very much affected, and we didn't want any other families to go through that.
And you've been campaigning tirelessly ever since. And let's bring you in now, if I could, Nigel Seaman, the foreword here to those who have served, to those still serving, to those still fighting battles that no one can see. This is all about raising awareness of that silent killer, PTSD.
Yes, Martin. So I'm a veteran myself, and I've had my own struggles. Very open about that, and I've been working with Rob for about 18 months to produce something that could support not only the veteran or the serving person, but the family member as well. Because when I had my breakdown through something which happened to me in the military, I realised quite soon after I was starting my recovery journey, that my children, my family, my direct family are the ones who suffered, and they didn't join the military.
How can people, it's a magnificent thing, it's a beautifully put together thing, the illustrations are beautiful, it's so moving. How can people get a copy of You Are Not Alone? How can they get involved? How can they contribute?
So, Combat to Coffee, we naturally have a website, which is combattocoffee.co.uk, and the book is launched formally on Thursday, and that will be going on sale on the website, which we can then distribute that. Something that is very good. We're working with prison industries to produce the book, so some veterans in custody will help to hopefully publish this book as well and print the book. Then we can then give something back to those and try and create second opportunities for those who probably suffering trauma and it's linked to offending.
Terry, you know, telling your story now, I can still see in your eyes, you know, it's still deeply, deeply moving for you. How important is it for you to work on projects like this to try and turn your loss into something so positive for others?
Well, yeah, it is still very raw and emotional, even though it was 8 years ago that he passed away. But this book is something special. It's a niche market. It's not due to the normal publications and SAS books and all these kind of things. It's simple. It's factual. The illustrations are great, as you say, and there are lists in here of places where people can go to. And the fact that it says you are not alone, we felt alone, my son felt alone, and we don't want people to feel alone. They've got to take the first step, and that's why Combat to Coffee is so vital, because have a brew, have a sip, have a cup of coffee, and then the conversation starts. And it's about making people aware that, you know, there is help, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Terry Butcher, thank you so much for joining us. And also Nigel Seaman, Combat to Coffee. You are not alone. There it is. It's a beautiful thing. Get involved, get online, get a copy, get donating and help to ease the suffering of others. Gentlemen, a pleasure to have your company. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us tonight on Farage. Now, of course, the fun is not over tonight. Up next is State of the Nation with Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's hoved into view like a vision. Sir Jacob, what's on your menu?
Thank you, but Martin, what a wonderful story you've just covered, and so important to listen to it, and so brave of Mr. Butcher to come on, and I think our viewers will greatly have appreciated that. Inevitably, I'm changing tone, and we'll be talking about the utter failure of the immigration policy the Labour government's already announced, that Starmer is trying to appear tough, but when you appear tough as a Prime Minister and you say, you know, I'm laying down the law, it's usually because you're weak, and his policy is already crumbling around his ears. It's not serious, it's not going to happen, the small boats are not going to be stopped by this. That, again, the Labour Party is failing. It doesn't, in its heart, want to do this, and lots of Labour MPs are already rebelling. It's finished Shabina Mahmood's leadership prospects, because she's now lost the middle and the left of the party. So that's bad for her, but it's bad for us, because the small boats will continue.
OK, so Jacob Rees-Mogg is up next with States Nation. Thank you very much. Thank you again to Terry Butcher and Nigel Seaman, inspirational stuff. Thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow 3 till 6 p.m. So Jacob is up next, but first, here's your weather forecast. Have a great evening.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Now, the cold theme will continue as we go through the next 24 hours, meaning there's going to be some frost, some ice, even some sleet and snow around. But snow is always quite tricky to forecast that specifically. That being said, we do have an area of low pressure making its way southeastwards at the moment, and it's this around it. We have some outbreaks of rain, a bit of sleet and some hill snow pushing southwards across parts of England and also Wales overnight. Across Northern Ireland, fairly frequent showers pushing through, and these could be a wintry mix. Also across northern parts of Scotland, plenty of showers here. Central southern Scotland actually having some clear skies, so temperatures plummeting. A very cold night here. Elsewhere, well, it is going to be chilly for sure. Some frost, some ice to watch out for as well. We start the day across the southeastern third of England on a pretty wet note. Some hill snow as well to watch out for. A few showers pushing into coastal parts of Wales and southwest England. Wintry showers and icy patches to watch out for over parts of Northern Ireland and northeast England. And